Okay, good morning. All right, so it's Hanukkah. It's Hanukkah. And I don't know if you guys are feeling it, but oh, the winter blues, like it's getting so dark. We're so close to the winter solstice. And it's like the days are just getting shorter, 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 and it's so dark, so early. So, Hanukkah light. I'll actually be doing a little teaching all about the solstice and all of the festivals of light through different religions and practices, Kabbalistic, Jewish. I'm doing that for the Torah Fund event that's happening December. I want to say 15th. It's a Wednesday, but keep an eye out for that. That'll be a good teaching. For today, we're still in Kislev in the Torah. I think I talked about a few weeks ago. Every parsha has something relating to dreams in it. And Kislev is the month, Kabbalistically, mystically, that's associated with dreaming. And we get to revisit the dream that Joseph had a couple weeks ago, where his brothers and the sun and the moon and the Hesa, everything was bowing down to him. And, the general commentary is how arrogant was he having that dream in the first place and telling everybody about it. And how dare you assume you're going to be the Lord over all of us? And now we see that it comes to its fruition, that he is indeed the one who is in a higher position and his brothers are bowing down to him, and begging and being at his mercy for what they need for food. For nourishment. So I wanted to talk a little bit about dreams in the sense of visualizing something that has not happened yet. We could talk about it as precognition, premonition, but I'm actually, even like in our waking or sleeping life, how do we sometimes see how something might be, could be, the potential of something before we have the evidence that it's actually turned out that way? So in a lot more modern, kind of psychology, we talk about that as visualization and manifestation. That in order to bring any goal, any dream into manifestation, into actuality, you have to really be able to kind of see it and really get specific about what it looks like, and pre-seeing what that future would be. And then that gives you the motivation, the inspiration, the belief in yourself, the trust in the universe, the power, the diligence to work towards actually creating that in reality. So I'm wondering, this is a question for you guys before we start. Have you ever had that experience where you've imagined something, or really maybe like with taking a trip, a vacation, right? Like you do all this imagining of what it might be like in that place, and you do the research and you look at images and you make the plan around bringing that vacation experience into reality. Maybe something like that. Maybe something more mystical, like you dreamt something and you were like, oh, that was and then you actually somehow that plays out. Carol's shaking her head. I'm just curious if you guys have.
I can't be specific, but I know that it's happened.
Yeah. So just show of hands, have you had that experience? Yeah. Have you had that experience, either consciously or subconsciously? It's like we're doing that work of imagining a certain thing to be. We're almost imagining it into existence. So I want to share that has definitely happened with me around yoga poses. So I remember when I really wanted to learn how to do a Pinchamayurasana, which is a forearm stand, and I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know the body mechanics. I didn't have the right strength yet. I didn't really understand the pose, but I knew it was aspirational. And I remember one night dreaming that I did it. I just dreamed it. It was so effortless. In my dream, it was effortless. I just went right into the pose and I was like, oh, that was so much easier than I thought. I know how to do this. And I remember waking up saying, I know how to do this pose. And then I just did the pose. And I hadn't been able to do it ever in my life up to that point. So I feel like in today's practice, yogic wise, I wanted us to imagine the poses that we are not yet able to do, but maybe have an aspiration like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if my body had the strength, the flexibility, the understanding of how to make that happen? So I'm open to suggestions from you guys. Do you have any aspirational poses? Otherwise, I was maybe thinking like moving towards handstand or moving towards splits or moving towards a crow pose, balance. And I will take you through the kramas, like the stages of preparing your body to get into that pose. I'm not promising you're going to get into the pose today, but we can go through stages towards that, like as we're walking towards manifesting that. Does anybody have anything that you personally like have always wanted to work on in your body? Are you coming off mute, Patty? Yeah.
I don't know how to do crow, and I don't know if I can. And I'd love to really be able to do a tree pose. I could do airplane, but and I could do it better on one side or the other, but I really don't seem, I don't know, there's something with my balance since I once hurt my back.
Okay. Okay. So tree pose. Jen, were you going to offer something? Oh, I don't hear you, even though it says you're off of mute. Sorry. You want to put it in the chat? Put it in the chat. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. I'm waiting for Jen. Let's see.
Robin, while Jen does that, you made me think of how the world, some people have food and some people don't, even today. There's so much hunger in so many countries.
Sorry, can you repeat the first part of that? I heard the hunger in many countries. What was the first part of that?
When you're teaching with Joseph and
Yeah.
how there are still areas of the world where there is famine, and there are areas in the world where we just have so much food.
Yeah. So even actually the way that you said that, Patty, that brings up another connection with this practice, which is like preparing for a future, right? Preparing for a future, you know, like when you have a sense of what the future might bring or what you want to create, either one, actively, passively, you can be more prepared and then take the steps towards that. So that's actually the practice we're going to do, right? Okay. All right. Jen says her kids are always doing side crow competitions and she's not that competitive in her ability yet. So we're going to get Jen there where she can show up her teenage sons with a side crow. All right. We can work on that. All right. So why don't we just come sit to start? You can close your eyes for a moment. Hands can rest on your laps, palms face up if that's comfortable for you. Let's just breathe for a minute. So really try to stay present to the breath, observing the breath come into your body, leave the body. You have not yet offered gratitude for waking up this morning, for your life, your breath. This is a great time to do that. Seeing if you can just let the breath slow down. So the nature of the mind is always to be rushing to the next thing, the next thought. See if just being here in this moment can be enough. And in your own life, when you think of 2022, which is right on the horizon, is there some wish, hope, goal that you want to vision for yourself? And just spend a moment thinking about what that might be. You don't have to know how that's going to actually manifest yet. You don't need all the details. You don't need the plan. Just stay with the vision. And then I'll ask you to just think about one thing related to your physical health or your body that you envision for yourself in the future. Staying in the positive, staying in the light. This is not an invitation to beat yourself up for what aren't already. A lot of love and compassion. What is one thing that you imagine of benefit to the body's health? You want to bring your hands together in front of your heart. And with humility, just kind of bow your chin to your heart in an offering of a prayer. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Ken Yehi Ratzon. May it be God's will, may it be the divine will. All right. Let's start in a downward facing dog. So let's get some heat building in the body right from the beginning. So if you need to take some cat-cows first and just work through your spine that way, that's fine. Whatever you need. Otherwise, just spread the fingers, get strong in the hands, lift your knees off the mat, lift your seat up high. And take your time here to explore and get comfortable, pedal through the heels, shift the hips. Try bending your knees deeply and keep your sit bones up as high as you can. Just feel what that feels like. Good. And then you can start straightening through the legs and reaching, really just like yearning those heels towards the ground. What I want you to actually feel is, yes, you're going to feel a stretch in the calves and in the hamstrings, but I want you to feel like almost like your belly is hollowing out here. So you might need to try that again. So you bend the knees, right? Tailbone is lifted. And then as you straighten the legs with the tailbone still high, you may notice this kind of natural engagement. Pelvic floor is engaged, but there's like the belly is really pulling in here. Good. Just generating some heat there. All right. And from here, you can walk your feet towards your hands and just give yourself a little shake side to side. Slowly roll yourself up to stand. When you get there, you can circle the shoulders up and back and down a few times. Okay. So you can bring your hands to your heart. Sorry, I can't figure out how to get my whole self on frame. Sorry. All right. Right here, let's just find Tadasana. So you're standing very firmly, strong sense of your feet grounding, planting into the earth. This is going to help us, Patty, for any standing balance, including a tree pose. So I want you to really look down at your feet for a moment. Make sure your toes are spread. They're not all crunched up next to each other. Like you can lift those toes and spread them. It sometimes helps to actually do that with your fingers. I don't know why, but spreading your fingers helps you spread your toes. You might notice you have an arch lifted. You might feel like an inner line of energy lifting up the inner legs. Nice and strong. Good. Right there is just your Tadasana. Okay, from there, inhale your arms up to the sky. Keep the legs as strong as they are as you lengthen out of your hips, folding, 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 and reach the fingertips towards the floor or towards blocks. Okay, so big stretch in the back of the legs, but there's also engagement in the thighs. The belly is still pulling in and up. You can bring your hands to your hips here. If you have low back issues and your low back is already tender, please bend your knees here, okay? Actually, just everybody put a small bend in the knees either way. Bring your hands to your hips, and you're gonna re-lengthen yourself, lifting, 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 all the way up. All right, let's stand on the left leg. So you're just gonna pop the right toes up and lift the foot up off the mat. Smile. Yeah. So imagine that standing leg is still in Tadasana, lifting up that inner line of energy. The muscles are strong and engaged. The belly is drawn in. That's your balance. That's your strength. Good. And then slowly lower that leg. Let's do the other side. So there's strength. It's not gripping, but there's engagement. There's strength, like drawing in, the sense of drawing in, right? Finding that center and staying calm in it. Yeah. And sometimes we have a vision and we don't know how we're going to get from here to there, but you have to start, right? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. That's Lao Tzu, Tao Te Ching, right? But it's true. If you never start, you're never going to get there. So we just keep starting, and when you put one foot in front of the other and you practice. Good. Lower the legs. Let's move a little bit. Inhale, bring your arms up to the sky. As you exhale, diving out over the legs. You're going to step your right leg all the way back. Okay. And you're going to lower the right knee down to the ground. Good. All right. And you can take blocks near you by your sides here. So we're going to do a little bit of kind of stretching towards a split and or a handstand, because, you know, it's the same muscles that we need to open here. So here we're stretching the hip flexor. We're already in a half split here. In yoga, it's called Hanumanasana. Hanuman is the monkey god. Small animal, but fierce, courageous. Good. Now you're going to shift your hips back. If that's a lot for your knee, you can double up your mat or bring a blanket under the back knee. But you're just going to flex the front foot. Okay, so your hips are hinging behind you. The front leg is straight. And you're going to reach those blocks or your fingers out to the floor. And you're stretching. This is sometimes called a runner stretch. You'll notice that we're in a half split here on the other leg. Yeah. So if I said to you this morning, hey, can you do a split? Universally, we might all have said no. Or, oh, when I was 10, I was able to, but not quite now in my adult body. but here you already are, like more than 50% of the way there. Okay, one more time, come forward. Maybe you can lunge a little deeper this time because you've already opened. So now it's the second time. It's not brand new. Yeah, and you can feel free to shift hips side to side if that feels good. You don't have to get stuck in the pose. Okay. And then one more time, hinging back. And again, maybe this time you can play with hinging a little deeper, and it might help to like you come up a little bit, feel what that feels like. And then lengthen, like you're pouring yourself forward and out, like you're trying to reach your sternum towards your toes, right? Not the same as trying to reach your head down to your knee, which flexes the whole back. We're not trying to do that. We're trying to lengthen ourselves out over. Good. Push your big toe away from your face. Go pull the other toes back. Feel how that subtle thing makes such a difference? That little cue, like, okay. Good. All right, from here, you're gonna just step that foot onto the floor. You can frame the foot with your hands, tuck your back toes, lift your back leg. You're in a lunge. Let's just come up here for one high lunge, because why not? Let's see, you guys look great. And let's take a little twist here, okay? So a couple of choices. Actually, let's do two. So first, a nice, easy, open twist. Again, either fingertips to the floor, hand to the floor, or to a block, okay? And you're just gonna twist yourself over. Good. Why don't we release the shoulders here a little bit? Take some back stroking circles. Just opening the shoulder joint. Good. And then from here, hands to the mat, you're going to step back into a plank pose. Just hold your plank. Just kind of hold and breathe. Make sure you have a slight bend in the elbows so you're using your arm muscles. You're not locking into the joints. Belly is lifting in and up. Heels are pressing back. Good. Belly is pulling in. You might start shaking. You might start feeling hot. That's okay. Need to brighten ourselves from the interior as we move into the winter months. How do we make our own heat? How do we generate our own light? Good. From here, draw your hips all the way up into a down dog. You may want to step your feet in a little closer to your hands. And just hang out and breathe in your down dog. Just take that right leg as high up to the sky as you can for a down dog split. And you can come up on the tiptoes of the left leg. So just you're stretching through both legs here. Notice that you're in a split. This is a split, okay? We're just not on the floor in it. We're in the air. So you're just stretching those inner thighs, stretching the hamstrings. Good. Point and flex the foot that's in the sky a few times and circle that ankle one direction and then the other. Good. Press your left heel back down towards the ground. You're going to bring that right knee all the way into your nose. Hold it there for just a minute, hovering. This is core, getting our belly strong. Good. Bring it back out behind you. Draw that knee all the way in towards your right elbow. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. You can do it. Obliques. Bring it back out behind you. The knee comes forward one last time. Draw that knee across towards the left elbow. We're working. This is for you, Jen. This is to work those crow twists. And bring the leg back behind you. Lower the knees to the ground. Take a child's pose. And breathe. So Joseph didn't immediately go from being a teenage boy who had a dream to become, the most important person in Egypt. A lot of stuff happened in between. A lot of stuff happened, but he had that dream and it was a powerful dream. And he knew it was coming from something more than just his ego, even though his brothers thought it was all his ego. I don't ascribe to that. I think he knew he was having a divine vision of something that was intended to be a future he needed to pay attention to. And the fact that he trusted in that is what helped him divine other dreams and have an audience with Pharaoh and ultimately save, probably, we can guess, hundreds of thousands of lives from famine, including his own family. So dreams are important. It's not just fantasy. There's something in it that has power. And then we just need to, take steps. All right, here we go. Second side, come on to your hands and knees. Come back to your down dog. From your down dog, you'll bend your knees, take a look forward, jump or step your feet to the front of the mat. Good. Hang out here for a second, one more time in your forward fold. Maybe this time you're stretching even more deeply into those hamstrings, but really make sure the feet are spread, push down into the earth. So you're pushing down into the feet, but then feel like you're also pulling, sucking energy up the back of the body. So like lengthening up through the calves, up through the hamstrings, into the low back. Good. And then bend the knees and come on up to stand. Let's do the second side. Okay. Hands to your heart. Let's take a big breath in, arms reach overhead. As you exhale, holding down over the legs. This time, hands stay to the floor. You're going to take that left leg all the way back, and you're going to lower the knee down to the ground. So if you didn't step back far enough and you're kind of up here on the knee, that's not as good as if you kind of like reach that leg back a little more. You're trying to get as much of a length between this knee and the front heel as is available to you right now. As we do the pose, more flexibility will become available. So it's okay if you're not quite there yet. So just hang out here for a moment and breathe. So if the yoga practice is really just a metaphor, for life practice, and you want to take some wisdom from the yoga practice off the mat into your life, what is this teaching you right now? What is this teaching you? Flex the foot, so your hips hinge back. Again, you can support that back knee if you need. And you're folding, lengthening forward and over that leg. You'll feel big, big stretch in the back of that right leg. Again, try to press that right big toe forward and away from you, even as the other toes pull back towards your face. Good, and then one more time, step into the front foot and lunge those hips forward and down. Can you find that sense of ease that we had at the beginning of the practice when you were just breathing? Yeah, like that sense of just letting the moment be as it is. There's no rush. There's nothing to do or change. Just dropping in. And then you'll reach it back one more time. Maybe you're hinging a little deeper this time. All right, step into that front foot. You're going to tuck the back toes and come up for your full expression of a lunge, whatever that looks like. If you want a little bit more of a shoulder opener here, you might want to take elbows behind your back, opposite elbows, or reach the, clasp the hands together behind the back And just draw those shoulder blades together. Just opening the shoulders, the neck. Make sure the belly is still pulling in here, right? Belly strong, legs strong. All right, and then the hand comes to the floor or a block, left hand down, right arm up, and we open for the twist. And taking some circles with that arm. Good. The hands frame that front foot. You're going to step back into a plank for a moment. Hold your plank. If you want to add a little bit of challenge in the plank, just lift your right toes up off the mat 3 inches. Lower that side. Lift your left toes up 3 inches. Good. From here, hips come all the way up and back for your down dog, and take that left leg up for your down dog split. So you're really feeling the energy of being in a split here. But don't lose the belly. So the belly is hugging in nice and strong. That feeling of a little bit of hollowing out in the belly. Good. And circle the ankle that's in the sky a few times in each direction. So that right heel back down, and we're doing that core cultivation. So you bring the knee all the way in towards the chin, pull the belly up away from the floor, hover, reach the leg back behind you. That knee comes forward towards the left elbow, slight bend in the elbows. Reach it back, and coming across the body, that knee goes to the right elbow. Lift up as much as you can, as much as you can. All right, bring it back, lower down to the knees. Take a child's pose for a moment. Okay. All right, let's do one more pre-crow kind of prep here. So from your child's pose, you can come up onto your knees for a moment. You're actually going to tuck your toes. Now this in and of itself might feel difficult, the tucking the toes part. And you might need, sometimes, our feet aren't so awake and alive and healthy, right? So sometimes you'll notice if you look back, like your last two, like your pinky toe isn't even touching the ground. So you want to help it. You actually want to help place your toes. So you're really flexing the toes. If that's too much, you can come and sit yourself up on a high block. It takes the pressure off. So just this is very, very healthy. It's also really healthy for pelvic floor. For the men in your life, this is healthy for prostate. It just brings energy when you Okay. Crow pose. From here, now that your feet are slightly open, you may want your blocks on the sides of you. You're going to lift your knees up off the ground. So here you are in little kind of a toe balance. Okay. If you need the blocks, great. If you don't need the blocks, maybe you can try balancing without the blocks. And Patty, this will help you for your tree pose as well, right? Because opening the feet are the first connection of foundation for any standing pose. So when the feet are open and you can still keep the core strong, that's really all the two main elements of a standing pose balance. Good. So here we are. Okay, we're just going to take a twist now. So if you have your blocks, all you're going to do is your big toes can touch, or they can be close together. Your knees, your inner thighs are touching. And you're just going to take the blocks to one side of you. And you're just going to find that twist. We're not even going up there yet. We're just finding a twist. Now notice the tendency in this is that your right hip and knee want to shift forward, your left hip and knee want to shift back. That's not how we want to do a crow, and that's not how we want to twist. Because then you're twisting from the sacrum, and the sacrum isn't really designed to do that kind of twisting motion. You want your knees to stay together. Okay, that's keeping your sacrum in a good alignment. Where you're twisting from is you're lifting up above those hips, and you're starting to twist from the core, from the middle of the spine. Okay, so if you're here, you might want to play with, I would put the blocks in more stable on the flat side. If you want to use the blocks, I would go flat. Place your hands on the blocks there. All you're going to do, this is all you're doing, Jen. We're going to get you there. We have all of 2022 to fulfill this. But all you're going to do is hands are on the blocks. You're going to bend the elbows, both of your elbows back towards you. They're just bending towards you. I'll show you from this angle. Okay. You're just bending a little. And all you're going to do is lean that knee, that front outer hip into the elbow. I mean, into the tricep. And you're just going to come up a little higher on your toes. That's all you're doing. You're leaning forward. You can also lean your butt against the back elbow. So you can actually use both as a kickstand, right? You got like two, this is your foundation. Both elbows and triceps are your foundation for your hip and for your knee. If you're there, maybe you tiptoe your toes a little farther back away from your hands. That's putting more weight into your hands. And then if you can, you're lifting the feet and you're just finding that balance. So just play with where you are. You don't have to go up, but it's just this feeling of, oh, okay, so I'm in a twist and I'm leaning and I'm leaning and I'm leaning and I'm just trying to find, kind of like a seesaw, I'm just trying to find that fulcrum point where everything is just balanced over that edge. And you might keep the foot that's closest to the hands on the floor and just see what it feels like, just to kind of lift the other foot a little bit. Yeah. If you're more advanced, you can play with other variations on that pose, extending legs. All right, come sit up, circle out your wrists. Good. How'd that feel? Was that sort of fun? Are you heated up? You're heated up, sweating a little. How you doing, Jen? Good, all right. Okay. Take a breath, take a breath. Let's do Patty's tree balance before we go to the other second side, okay? So everybody come stand up. So same principles. The other one was an arm balance. You're balancing on your hands and arms. This is a balancing on your feet, okay? So, but same principles of like engagement, attention. All right. So here we are, we find our Tadasana, we're nice and strong. Your feet should feel quite open here. Spread your toes this time and see if they feel a little bit more open than they were before. Definitely our hamstrings and calves are more open. We did a lot in that. Okay. So what you're gonna try to do is, again, just pop up the toes and lift the foot off the floor. So the natural tendency once you do that is for this hip to shift out to the side. Right? You could feel that. And then this knee, the standing leg knee wants to lock out. So avoid those two things. Try not to just crush into the hip and try not to lock out the knee. So put a slight bend, you're still in the muscle then. And draw that hip back in, that's core. That's why we did also those like, bringing that knee forward in that plank. That works each side of the core individually to learn how to draw in. Okay. And then from here, you're just going to open the hip. That foot either places below the knee or above the knee. Just don't push into the knee. So wherever it is, and you can help it. Good. Now, once that foot is there, that's now something that you can push into. So that helps this hip come to the midline. Okay. It's all right, Patty. Good. So find that connection and then press the foot into the inner thigh, press the thigh into the foot. Feel how just that pressing motion draws the belly in and gets the belly nice and strong. Yeah. Shoulders are relaxed. My shoulders aren't stressed out here. I'm just relaxed. My face is relaxed. It's really just about the feet being open and the inner thigh being strong. Yep. And that sets up the strength everywhere else. Yeah. Good. All right, and let it go. Yeah, so Patty, you just from the beginning of setting up that pose to then where you ended up was a huge difference. A huge difference. So again, it's always about progress and not perfection. Okay, stand up nice and tall. I think something, you know, we have a tendency to limit our own dreams, our other people's dreams, because they seem unrealistic. And we don't want someone to, oh, that's never going to happen. It's so unrealistic. I have to make my dreams smaller. But do you? Maybe not. Maybe dream big and realize that as long as I'm making progress towards that goal, that's the right direction. Right? It's less about the actual achievement, but maybe a bigger goal draws you forward with more effort, maybe, than a small little goal. Right? That's, you know, the benefit of challenging ourselves. Yeah, so just find your strength here. How you doing on that side, Patty? Did you try? Yeah. Good. So good. So set yourself up with something that can give you support. But again, try to wean yourself from that support by doing everything else you know. That hip comes in underneath you. You're standing up tall. That feeling of lifted, right? The foot is open and pressing down, but lifting energy up. The shoulders are relaxed. Yeah. Beautiful. Jen, you look like a statue. All right, and release it out, shake it out. Let us do the side crow on the second side. All right, here we go. So we're going to come back into that little toe squat. So the toes can be close together, but inner thighs are touching. The knees are flush with each other. Okay, so I'm just first, whee. So that's a balance in and of itself. That's, you know, and again, like check your toes. You might need to kind of like lengthen those pinky toes out and make sure they're actually making contact with the floor. Yeah, if they're not touching the floor, that's a sign that all those muscles in the outer foot are kind of under invigorated. You're underusing them. You know, they're kind of all congested and tight. You want to stretch and open those. All right, so now the blocks come to the other side of you. And as soon as I remember to keep my hips aligned and my knees together, I'm going to feel this definitely as a twist from my sideways, right? I'm twisting around the core. So the ribs are pulling back on one side and they're stretching forward on the other side. Just find that twist for a moment. And then you can place the elbow against the side of that thigh or knee, up by the knee. Yeah, and then you could just work that twist, just like that. You could stay there. That's a good step. Just working this twist. If you want to go deeper, hands to the floor or to the blocks, and you can lift your hips up a little higher. So now your back hip is resting against your back tricep. The knee is resting against the front tricep. And you just start edging your feet over a little farther away from you. Maybe you just lift that top foot and you just play there. You're right there. Yeah. Maybe that bottom foot also lifts. If you're afraid of falling, you can put a blanket or a pillow under your head so that if you fall, you're falling on something soft. Whee! Jen, that was really good. But you're building the strength. It's oblique strength. It's like that pulling together. It's really, and it's also physics. It's really physics, like finding that right sweet spot. And it's a lot of trust. Like, oh, okay, like I can trust myself to go in that direction. Yeah. So it's a process. Okay. So I want to give you an option. It is Hanukkah, so we need to do something candle-ish. And getting heat. So inversions build heat. Inversions bring light into the body, lots of blood flow. I have two suggestions. Okay. First suggestion, I'll just show you and you can do what you want. But first suggestion is to do, this is the easiest suggestion, lying flat on the floor with the feet elevated. We've been stretching the hamstrings, so hopefully you're open enough to kind of stay like this. You could also do this at the wall. If you want to bring it into a shoulder stand, your upper arms and elbows really like find the ground right next to you. You could bring your hands to the floor, and this is core. You could start with bent knees, actually. You're just gonna bring your knees and your hips up off the ground, and then your hands find those hips and give them some support. And then those legs can reach up to the sky. That's your shoulder stand, okay? You just wanna be careful with your neck here. So you just don't want your whole throat closed off, like press into the skull so you keep a little opening in the throat. So those are two options, legs up or shoulder stand. The third option would be to go into any form of handstand, and we've opened the hamstrings for this. So you can do it facing away from the wall, starting in a down dog, and you just lift, down dog split. It's just what we did on the mat, down dog split right here like that. You can go one side, down dog split, you could do the other side, and maybe you do both. So you're in a variation of handstands, which is just like both legs. And then if you're really brave, you could take one foot away from the wall, reach it to the sky, and the other. Okay, so play with your version of whatever you want to build some heat. Get upside down. Ooh, it looks like Jen might do some kick-ups to a handstand. Go for it. I'm witnessing you. No, you're not. Whatever pose you're in, find your core. Is your core strong? Find your feet. Are your feet open as if they are pressing into whatever invisible thing is above you, the ceiling, but really like using the feet still as the foundation? Great. Love it, guys. And then keep your breath nice and easy. And you know, it's your practice. So as you need to adjust whatever you're doing, that's, you know, you could come out of this pose and do something else. But let's just stay for like another minute in some form of inversion. And imagine yourself as a candle, because this is, the shoulder stand is really like the traditional candlestick pose. So what is the light that you want to bring into the world in 2022? Not just for your own life or your family, but really like, what is your light that you have to shine for the benefit of the world? If you're in some inversion and you want to play with splits here, you could feel free to do that, bringing one leg forward, one leg back. And slowly, slowly, slowly make your way down. Let's just take your feet wide and knock the knees together. Just stay there for a moment, and then you can take little shifting side to side here. All right, from our back, last version of a split we'll do. Extend your right leg long, lift your left leg up, and you're just gonna walk your hands up that leg, maybe towards the ankle, whatever is good for you. Belly is drawing in nice, right? Belly is drawing in,
And you're reaching your thigh closer towards your chest. The extended leg is flexed, push that toe away from you. And slowly lower back down to the ground and switch sides. Good. And release that. You can flip-flop your heels side to side. Get your shoulders down out of your ears. And you could go straight into your Savasana here, or if there's anything else you need for your practice today, that you want to take, a happy baby, a pigeon, reclining pigeon, whatever you need, do that now. And then settle into your Shavasana, and I would just invite you to come back to whatever you started at the beginning with as intentions or goals or visions for yourself for 2022. And also around your physical health. Like what do you imagine is possible for yourself, and what might be those small steps in that direction? And as you're lying here, imagine yourself actually as a candle. You can imagine the candle is lit either above your head, or that your head itself is that flame. And as if you are the shamash, what and who do you want to spread your light to? Maybe bring into your heart and mind the people you want to bestow light and blessing upon, offering those people blessing. As you're ready, you can transition over to one side. Maybe hold yourself there and breathe for another minute. And then make your way up to sit. Shalom b'mamav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, v'al Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, Imru, Amen. You all be blessed with peace. All right, I hope that practice gave you something of what you needed today. I'll move in the right direction.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
It was great, Robin. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining.
So
Thank you,
beautiful.
everybody.
Thank you.
Happy
Happy
Hanukkah, everyone.
Hanukkah.
Enjoy the lights. Enjoy.
Hanukkah.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.